Yo, what's good, everybody? It's the Bronx Squirrel back in the building, and tonight we got a wild one for you. Michael K's been going off again, ranting, debating callers, dropping hot takes left and right. And let me tell you something, I'm chiming in after every single topic. So if you don't like my takes, if you don't like the Bronx Fire, then do yourself a favor and click out now. Because the Bronx Squirrel ain't going nowhere. I'm here to stay. I'm here to react. And I'm bringing the realness every time. Strap in. Let's get to it.
The Mets lose again. Just when they have what could be the kind of win that you'll talk about and say, well, that's where it turned around. Coming back from 6-1 down to win 9-7, they lay a complete egg last night at Wrigley Field. They lose 10-3. But they're still in first place because the Reds lost in extra innings, and the Diamondbacks lost in extra innings to the Dodgers, Reds to the Pirates. So whoever's going to win this third wild card is going to be the last man standing, not because they took it and grabbed it by the throat and said, we want this, we deserve this, we're good enough for this. No, none of the three of them deserve it. None of them. The Mets have put their whole season on the back of three kids. And at this point, one seems like he's up to the task. And that's the guy who's starting tonight, Nolan McLean. Jonah Tong pitched yesterday and went 2 innings. He got 6 outs, 5 earned runs, 7 hits, 2 walks, 1 strikeout. So I understand all the excitement about the kids. I really do. But do you know that in 5 starts, Jonah Tong, who's 22 years old and is being pushed to be up here because the Mets don't have pitching, has a 7.71 ERA. 7.71 ERA. So when the Mets sneak into the postseason, and they will, how are they winning games? How are they winning games? They have no defense. They have very little starting pitching. And they have one reliever in the bullpen that you really feel comfortable with, Edwin Diaz. That's why, when they had a chance to win on Tuesday, they had to go to Diaz for 2 innings. I don't blame Mendoza. They had to go to him for 2 innings because they don't have enough to get it to Edwin Diaz to pitch tonight. So even if the Mets were in a situation where they could win last night, they couldn't have used Diaz a night after he pitched 2 innings. How are you winning 2 out of 3 wild card games? No days off. How are you doing it? David Peterson has been awful. Kodai Senga is not close to coming back up. Manaea has not been good. Holmes can't give you a length. They both pitched yesterday in relief. You got Sproat, you got McLean, you got Tong, and you got trouble. Shame, by the way, shame on the Reds. You lose 2 games to the Pirates. You have a chance to make the playoffs. The Mets are opening the door for you to kick it down. I don't know why you'd kick a door down if it was open, but they're opening it for you, and you're not walking through. That's why I've been telling you for a month, the Reds aren't good enough. You have a chance to grab a postseason spot and you can't beat the Pirates? Now I understand Paul Skeens is going to shut you down. And he had 6 shutout innings yesterday. But then you have 3 innings against the Pirate relievers. Remember, they traded David Bednar. And you did come back to tie the game. At the end, down 3-2, you have the bases loaded. And Noelvi Marte hits a ground ball to third. They step on the bag. That's it. Ball game over. You would have been in first. You would have been in the third wild card. Because with the Met loss, if you had tied them, you have the tiebreaker. Now, I give the Diamondbacks a little more leeway. You're playing the Dodgers. But the Diamondbacks came back to tie it, and they couldn't win it in extra innings. It's the third wild card that nobody wants. Or, let me amend that. It's the third wild card that no one's good enough to grab. You know, Mendoza said something yesterday after the game. He said, we have to be better. What's the old Bill Parcells line? You are what your record says you are. Since the middle of June, the Mets have been one of the worst teams in baseball. That's over half the season. So you could say we have to be better, but do you have the ability to be better? Vientos, playing third base yesterday, throws a ball away, lets a Cubs run score. The previous night, 2 errors by McNeil. A misplay in the outfield by Juan Soto that had a 95% catch probability. It's unbelievable. And they're going to make the playoffs. They're going to make the playoffs by default because the teams that are chasing them are not good enough. The Mets are 81-77. They have a game left against the Cubs tonight, and then 3 in Miami against a Marlins team that, before they got slapped around by Philadelphia last night, has been one of the hottest teams in baseball. What are the Mets hanging their hat on? There's no consistency, and you know what? A team that's not good is not consistent. They'll give you a great game, they'll give you 2 trash games, and they'll come back and they'll give you a great game. Here's the Met hope. By default, they take the 3rd wild card. And then they go to play the Dodgers in a best-of-3 in L.A. And don't look now, the Dodger bullpen is brutal. Brutal. Maybe the Mets could ugly their way into the NLDS. Maybe. Never dismiss anything. But this team has been an utter embarrassment since the middle of June. No other way to put it. Utter embarrassment. They can't win games they have to win. They can't beat teams that they should beat, i.e. the Nationals, i.e. the Marlins. And we're still talking tough every time they win a game? Oh, there's the turnaround. This is the turnaround. There is no turnaround. They're not good. It's like telling the heavy-set kid in gym class, climb the rope. Can't. I speak from experience. I couldn't. You could say all you want, we have to be better. Michael, you have to climb up that rope. Michael can't. The Mets can't be better. This is what they are. You don't go this far into the season and not put a run together and then expect it to all of a sudden happen. But I stand by what I've been saying and preaching to you for months. They're making the playoffs. The Reds can't beat the Pirates? Stop yourself. What an embarrassment. So what do we have coming up for the Reds? They play Pittsburgh. It's underway right now. And then they're at Milwaukee. Their only hope is that Milwaukee has everything clinched. I think Milwaukee has a 2-game lead for the best record in the National League over the Phillies. So nothing's clinched yet. Arizona has the Dodgers at 3:40, final game of that set. And then they go to San Diego. And it looks like San Diego pretty much is set where they are. And the Mets have the 3 games in Miami against the Marlins. This is what the playoff race is in the National League. The Mets are 81-77. They're essentially a 500 team. Arizona's 80-78. Go get them, guys. Go crazy. Go crazy, in the words of Jack Buck.
Listen, Michael's not wrong that the Mets have been a flat-out mess since June. They've been coughing up games they should put away, making mental errors, throwing balls around like it's Little League. But here's where I push back. You can't sit here and say none of these teams deserve it. Baseball's not about deserve, it's about survival. And right now, ugly or not, the Mets are still alive. You want to call it embarrassing? Fine. But tell me another club in this wild card hunt that's running away with it. Reds, They're folding against the Pirates. D-backs fighting but not finishing. It's not about who grabs the race by the throat. It's about who's left standing when everybody else face plants. And yeah, the Mets don't have pitching depth, the bullpen's thin, and they're leaning too much on Diaz. But don't act like we haven't seen teams limp into October before and make noise. The Dodgers' pen is shaky. Michael even admits it. All it takes is 2 timely bats, a couple of arms stepping up, and suddenly the embarrassment turns into a spoiler story. So sure, Mets fans should be frustrated, but don't bury the season yet. Baseball's cruel, baseball's weird. And sometimes it's the ugliest team that sneaks in and shocks everybody.
A $340 million embarrassment that they're hinging their whole season on 3 neophyte kids. And please, we had a caller the other day, and I was thinking about this as I was driving to the stadium. Well, we've had injuries. We've had injuries to the pitching staff. We lost Griffin Canning. We lost McGill. Okay. Let's turn the page and cross the river. The Yankees lost Garrett Cole. The Yankees lost Clark Schmidt. The Yankees didn't have Luis Hill for 4 months. Oh, that's 60% of their rotation. Don't talk to me about injuries because you lost Griffin Canning. You're embarrassing yourself bringing up stuff like that. You know what the problem is? This team wasn't put together smartly. You gambled the whole thing on your pitching lab and Jeremy Hefner, who's great at what he does, but a magician can only do so much. If there's no rabbit in the hat, you can't pull it out of the hat. You can't keep throwing reclamation projects at Jeremy Hefner and expect him to be great. The starting staff that he gave Jeremy Hefner, even before the injuries, simply not good enough. So don't talk to me about injuries. When the team across town is now in first place, has been the best team since the middle of August, without Cole, without Schmidt, and without Heel. Stop. Stop yourself. Without Loizaga, without Cousins. Stop. You have no right to talk about injuries. Good teams overcome injuries. Every team has injuries. Oh, the Phillies are running away with the East. Their best pitcher is out for the year. The best pitcher they have is out for the year. Every team has injuries. The Dodgers have been ravaged by injuries. They're in first place in the West. Stop yourself. Don't talk about injuries. Talk about the team's not good enough. That's what you talk about. Let's go back to the Yanks. 8-1 over the White Sox. 2 home runs by Judge, giving him 51. Home run by Grisham, giving him 34. Judge now becomes just the 4th player in baseball history to have 50 or more home runs in 4 separate seasons. And only the 2nd clean one. Ruth and Judge, that's it. And then you get the asterisk with Sosa and McGuire. That's it. The Yankees, since last Wednesday, when they were 5 games behind the Blue Jays, they've gone 6-1. And the Blue Jays have gone 1-6. I never thought the Yankees had a chance to win the East when they were going 20-31. Never. I thought they had a chance to get to the playoffs, but to win the East, they're tied for first place in the American League East because the Blue Jays can't get out of their own way. And playoffs make strange bedfellows because Yankee fans have been rooting for the Red Sox the last 2 days, and the Red Sox have hammered Toronto. Hammered Toronto. And the Yankees have not limped in. They've won 7 of 8, 10 of 13, 21 of 29. They're a season-high 22 games over 500. They're 90-68. That's the same record as the Blue Jays. Now, the Blue Jays have the tiebreaker because they were 8-5 against the Yankees in the regular season. But I said yesterday, if the Yankees win out, which is certainly a possibility, I don't think the Blue Jays could win out. Not the way they're playing. Not the way George Springer is saying that, well, the league wants the Yankees to win. Nonsense. It's amazing the things that people say when there's stress. Max Fried was great again. 7 innings pitched, 1 run. In the last 7 starts, 1.55 ERA and 46 in the 3rd innings. And tonight, Carlos Rodon against Davis Martin. They actually have a chance to have the best record in the American League after everything that went on. Color me surprised. Not at all surprised that they're going to the playoffs. I'm not surprised by that. They always do. The fact that they could win the American League East and get a bye and have the best record in the league is shocking. And the collapse by the Blue Jays would be somewhat historic if not for the Tigers saying, hold my beer. The Tigers had a 15-and-a-half game lead over the Guardians. Now they're trailing the Guardians by 1 in the American League Central. It's unfathomable. It's the biggest deficit that's ever been made up in the history of Major League Baseball. And it has turned the final week of the season into a roller coaster ride. Now, in the midst of all of this, Judge hits his 50th and 51st. And yesterday, Cal Raleigh hit his 59th and 60th. And although that is a wondrous season that he's having, all the experts coming out, the guys at Major League Baseball Network, all the other experts, they seem, well, Raleigh's the MVP. Every single category other than home runs and RBIs, Judge beats Raleigh. Every single one. His batting average is over 100 points higher than Cal Raleigh. He scored way more runs. His OPS is higher. His OPS plus is higher. Both WARs, Fangraphs, and Baseball Reference higher. Everything. Walks. He's had 34 intentional walks. If Raleigh has walked 34 times intentionally, he wouldn't have 60 home runs. I don't want to take anything away from Raleigh. That is not my intent. And I think that the fact that he gets 60, and maybe he could even break the American League record, there's a chance he's going to beat Judge for the MVP. I don't think it's right. I think Judge is the MVP. But they're going to say, well, 60 home runs, he's a catcher, never been. Get it. He's having an unbelievable year. But I didn't know there were only 2 categories when you're looking at who the MVP is. Because there are a lot of other categories where Judge leads by a lot. By a lot. I don't get it. I mean, there's so much certitude out there. Well, it's going to be Raleigh. Well, how come when Judge set the rookie record for home runs with 52 in 2017, he didn't win over Altuve? Because they talk about, well, Altuve had the higher batting average. Oh, okay. Judge has a batting average over 100 points higher than Raleigh, but now it doesn't matter. So you don't think that there's Yankee bias, and you don't think that there's Judge fatigue? Oh, let's find the new flavor of the month. Let's not give it to Judge again. Let's give it to Cal Raleigh. Now, would it be an outright theft if Cal Raleigh won the MVP? No, absolutely not. He's having a season for the ages. No catcher's ever done this. No switch hitter's ever done this. I get all of it. But the thing that gets me is the people that say, oh, Raleigh's the MVP. Really? Dig down through the numbers. Tell me if you're that sure he's the MVP.
Mikey, I hear you. And you ain't wrong on a lot of it. Betting the whole season on a pitching lab and reclamation projects, that was a risky play from day one. Jeremy Hefner can work miracles, but you can't magic a true number. One out of thin air. That said, don't write off injuries as a dodge either. Losing arms bites, but good organizations tend to absorb that hit. The difference you pointed out, depth and roster construction. Plain and simple. Now about the Yankees. Wild turnaround. Go from 20 to 31 to talking AL East. That's earned grit, timely hitting, and a little bit of momentum magic. Judge putting up historic numbers while the bullpen finds its groove. I'll give K that applause. But on the MVP chatter, look, a 60-homer season is its own cathedral. Raleigh's got a claim nobody can ignore. Judge's full package resume matters too. On balance, it's a legit debate, not just let's pick one because of fatigue. Back to the Mets. Yeah, embarrassing stretches, complacent defense, shaky starters, all true. Still, baseball's ugly at the end of September. Teams sneak in, ugly teams become spoilers, and October rewrites a lot. So flame the front office for bad construction if you want. Push hard on fixing pitching, but don't flip the switch from embarrassment to finished until the math says so. Bottom line, you got every right to be mad at how the Mets were built. You got every right to applaud the Yankees' comeback, and you got every right to enjoy the drama, because that's what this week's been. Capisce? Let's see who shows up in October.
Tony in Queens. Tony.
Hey, Michael, how are you? A pleasure talking to you.
What's up, man?
I agree with you about the Judge and Raleigh. Like it will make me sick to my stomach if Raleigh's being given the MVP, because he has having an outstanding season, and MLB has to have other awards. But when you look at it, and I've been having arguments with this with coworkers and friends of mine, Judge is having the best season out of the two of them by a mile in every category. And when you look at the two categories that Raleigh is ahead, it's not by a lot, right? So now with the 2 home runs, this is 9 home runs and I don't know how many RBIs, but just bats over 100 points in it has more hit. It has a better season, so that will make me sick to my stomach if that happens.
Well, I don't want you to get sick to your stomach because, as I said, Tony, Raleigh's having a great year. In any other year, if Judge was not having an historic year, Raleigh is the hands-down MVP. The thing that bothers me when people say there's no competition, it's hands-down Raleigh. You're wrong. It shouldn't be hands-down Raleigh. Judge is having a year that you don't see many people have. The OPS off the charts. He scored many more runs than Raleigh. He's walked way more than Raleigh. He's got 100 points more in his batting average. Again, Raleigh's beating him in home runs and RBIs, and that's a sexy category. But it's not as if Aaron Judge has 29 home runs. He has 51 home runs. And when Aaron Judge crushed Altuve in home runs in 2017, they didn't give him the MVP. They gave it to Altuve. So why the double standard? So let's go to Andrew in Portland. Andrew.
Aaron Judge has 34 intentional walks this year. He breaks Ted Williams' record. I know Cal Raleigh's been intentionally walked a few times as well, but 34 at bats. If you take 34 at bats, that's the equivalent of almost 8 games worth of at bats. My question to you is, do you think that if Aaron Judge had 8 games worth of at bats, do you think the home run totals would be a little closer?
Well, I think if you look at Aaron Judge, what is he? I think he has a home run once every 10 at bats. So you could add 3 home runs to there if he wasn't intentionally walked, I would think. So then he'd have 54. But Raleigh still has 60. We can't discount the fact that Raleigh has 60. Now, if Raleigh had 34 intentional walks, and Judge walks a lot, even not intentionally, it's over 100. And those are opportunities where he's not being given pitches to hit. He's got a great eye. They might not be intentionally walking him, but they're intentionally walking him. Listen, I don't need Andrew to sit here and have to litigate or defend Aaron Judge. His numbers, to me, do the litigation for him. He's having one of the great seasons that any right-handed hitter has ever had. If you look at the weighted runs created plus, nobody's even close to him. And we're talking about history, too, not just in 2025. His numbers are extraordinary. And again, I really, truly believe that there's Yankee fatigue and there's Judge fatigue. Yankee bias and Judge fatigue. Let's put it that way. So Judge has won MVPs before, and just like happened with Lamar and like happened with Jokic and it happens with LeBron, they always want to find the new flavor, and they want to find something different. So, you don't have to go far off the reservation to say Cal Raleigh should be the MVP. The guy's going to have 60-plus home runs. But to discount every other stat that is imperative in judging a player and just discount it and say, well, the 60 home runs, that overrides everything, I think that's a little suspect. Just a little suspect.
All right, Tony from Queens. I feel you, brother. I get why you and half the break room are yelling about this every day. Raleigh's season is historic for a catcher, no doubt. But Judge is building something that's not just good this year. It's generational. OPS, runs, walks, batting average, WAR. He's lapping the field in every lane except raw homers and RBIs. If we're keeping it real, that's not by a mile. Raleigh, that's Judge standing on his own island. And Andrew, in Portland, you hit the nail on the head. 34 intentional walks ain't just numbers on a stat sheet. That's managers saying, we'd rather face anyone else on the Yankees than this guy. That's fear respect. That's Barry Bonds level avoidance. Give Judge those extra swings. Yeah, he's closer in the HR race, and the MVP conversation looks way different. Now, Mikey's right on the fatigue factor, too. Voters love new toys. One year it's Judge. Next year they're like, who's next? That's not objective. That's boredom disguised as analysis. But MVP ain't a popularity contest. It's supposed to be most valuable. And Judge is not just valuable to the Yankees. He's been the most valuable player in baseball. Period. Raleigh deserves flowers. But don't confuse historic for a catcher with best in the league. Two different conversations. So yeah, Tony, don't make yourself sick. Judge has the stronger case. But don't get it twisted either. Raleigh's season is legit legendary. It just ain't MVP over Judge. Not this year.
Let's go to Joe in Waldwick. Joe.
Michael, I value your opinion. But, Michael, I thought your words of wisdom yesterday about the pom-pom. Take the pom-poms off the Yankees, please. I know they've been good, and they had all these pennants. But, Michael, let's face it. You have had the biggest financial advantage in baseball history for the last 23 years. Except for the last 2 years, you got anybody you wanted, and you kept everybody you wanted. So you got to agree. And you haven't won the World Series in 16
agreeing
years.
with what? I mean, but Joe, you're saying that money equates championships. I mean, the Mets have
money equates the playoffs.
Wait a minute.
It's been 16 years.
Okay, but they made the playoffs. What do you want? It's hard to win championships. I'm not saying that they should be anointed as the greatest of all time, but they make the playoffs every year, and they give you an opportunity to win the World Series every year. The Mets have a $340 million payroll, Joe. What does it mean? If you spend your money poorly, it doesn't mean anything.
Well, they have because they haven't won 16 years, Michael. It's a long time, Michael.
Well, you're saying they haven't won. They haven't won a championship in 16 years. They've been to 3 American League Championship Series. They make the playoffs almost every year. Listen, you equate it differently. If you think they stink, okay, that's your opinion.
No, they stink. They've done well. I'm just saying they've done. I'm not trying to mark them out. I'm just saying they've enormously underachieved with their payroll and their advantages. That's all.
Okay, but the Dodgers, okay? The Dodgers spend just as much money as the Yankees for a long time. They won a COVID championship in 2020 and finally broke through. Before that, they hadn't won since 1988. So money doesn't mean everything. And I'm telling you, Joe, the Yankees have not lived up to what their expectations are because they haven't won a championship since 2009. But to say, they failed, okay, your idea of failure is that they haven't won a championship. That's a lot of people's idea of failure. But every single year they go into it and they have a chance to win. Every single year, excepting a couple, they make the playoffs. I don't know what to tell you. Listen, you don't have to listen to me. You don't have to take my word and say, well, that's the gospel. It's far from the gospel. Far from the gospel. I'm just trying to lay it out there that, yeah, you're disappointed they don't win a championship, but every year they got a chance. And if they fall short and you think that's a failure, okay, then you're in line with Judge and Jeter and George Steinbrenner. Good. That's the way you judge it. We had a guy call in 2 days ago. Well, if I paid my staff all this money and they didn't win, they'd be fired. Well, how about if they finished second or third? They were the second or third best company. Would you think that was a failure? But I know because George Steinbrenner laid it down and said everything other than a World Series win is a failure. There's been a generation of people raised on that. So I can't argue with you. So if you go by that definition, then everything's been a failure. So 2001, when they went to the Game 7 of the World Series, that's a failure. 2003, when they lost to the Marlins in 5 games, that's a failure. The times that they went to the ALCS Game 7 and Game 6 and they didn't get to the World Series, that's a failure. Okay, that's your definition of failure. That's not my definition of failure. But you have the right to have your own definition of what failure is.
Joey from Waldwick, my man, I hear you loud and clear. You're basically saying the Yankees been running around with a blank check for 20 plus years and one ring since 2009 makes them frauds. That's the gist, right? Now here's the reality check. Yeah, money buys you players, but it don't buy you rings. Mets just dropped $340 million on payroll and couldn't even sniff October. Dodgers spent for decades, got one bubble title to show since '88. So cash ain't a golden ticket, it's just an entry fee. Michael's right. This team's made the playoffs consistently. They've been in ALCS battles. They've given fans October baseball basically every year. That ain't nothing. But I get your angle. If the standard is World Series or bust, then yeah, they've been busting for 16 years. You sound like you came up on George Steinbrenner talking fire and brimstone. Second place is first loser, energy. Here's the truth. Both sides are right. The Yankees should have done more with the money. Absolutely. One ring since '09. That's underachieving. But calling the whole thing a failure ignores the fact they've been competitive, they've been relevant, and they've kept you in the dance every October. Most franchises would sell their souls for that. So Joey, I'll give it to you like this. Yankees haven't been failures, but they've been disappointments. There's a difference. All right, that's going to do it for today's rant. Now it's your turn. Jump in the comments, let me know if I'm right, if I'm wrong, or if you think I'm out of my mind. And don't forget, hit that subscribe, smash that like. It helps the channel grow. We'll be back with more takes, more debates, and maybe a few arguments. Until then, stay loud, stay passionate, and I'll catch you next time.